Gary and Krishna, we were doing 30 minutes, right? Or 50. 20 minutes. Trying to remember the time slot.
Yeah, 30 minutes is good.
30 minutes, okay.
Mhm. If everybody can introduce yourself in the chat so we know who is on the call, that would be great. Good afternoon. My name is Krishna Kunapareddy, and I work as a senior program manager at NATO. Welcome. I'm going to give 1 more minute to begin this session. Great. I don't want to take anybody's time any longer, so I know people are still jumping on the session, but I would like to go ahead and start the session. Again, good afternoon, everybody, and my name is Krishna Kunapredi, and I work as a senior program manager at NATO. And as you can see, here we have a few other staff from NATO, Kirikiso, Haley, Brett, and Ryan. Some of you might have worked with these folks, but I just want to thank all of them for helping me with the session today. With this, I'd like to turn this over to Kelly to kick us off and introduce the speakers.
Great. Thank you, Krishna. Hi, everybody. I'm Kelly Cornell Liu. I'm the program manager for environment at AASHTO. For those of you who aren't familiar with AASHTO, it's American Association of State Highway and Transportation Officials. So we represent and work with all of the state DOTs, including DC and Puerto Rico. So we've had the pleasure to work with Krishna and Carrie and others at NATO over the last few years as part of our Center for Environmental Excellence. The Center for Environmental Excellence is operated by AASHTO, but it's also in cooperation with the Federal Highway Administration. And it's meant to serve as a resource for transportation professionals seeking technical assistance, training, information exchange, partnership building opportunities, and easy access to environmental and sustainability tools. So if you haven't ever checked out our webpage, you can find us at environment.transportation.org. And yeah, that's really my spiel for why I'm here. Basically, we partner with NATO, and NATO does all the work. Thank you, NATO. And we're really happy to be working with them over the last couple of years and bringing these types of peer exchanges together. So with that, I will introduce the speakers. I didn't have a chance to check with Connor before this, but Connor Vasalio, maybe?
Yeah, that's close enough.
Okay. Is a transportation planning coordinator with the North Central Pennsylvania Regional Planning and Development Council, maybe?
Commission.
Commission, thank
So
you.
yeah, it's a
Sorry.
mouthful. It's a mouthful.
And then we also have Anna Alicia Gouge. I also did not get a chance to ask her if that was correct. She's a built environment and connectivity specialist from the Louisiana Cooperative Extension Services. And I'm not sure who's going first.
Thank you,
Oh,
Kelly.
thanks,
Yeah,
Kelly.
Connor, you have the floor.
Share my screen here. Everyone see that? Everyone see that?
Yes.
What good?
Yes, perfect.
Yeah, public. I know the public engagement process might vary a little bit state to state, MPO to RPO and designation, but kind of getting into our process from a high level. So yes, I'm with the North Central Pennsylvania Regional Planning and Development Commission, and we are designated as the RPO for our region. And giving an overview. Just going to go through overview. You know how we are designated. I think it's important to highlight. I know because depending on what state you're in, you might not be designated by the state as the RPO. So just kind of going through that background. I know many of you are already familiar with this, but just to kind of give that context, and then kind of getting into our public engagement, and then just basic funding opportunities that we look through, more on the discretionary side. I don't think there's a whole lot of benefit, maybe if that's a discussion someone wanted to get into, and as what is allocated through our tip and that for funding for BOF, BRIP, and all the different federal funds that are put through for our tip, but more on the discretionary side of things. But yeah, so I guess getting into it. So our region that we cover, we're up in the north central corner. At the very top of our region is the New York border, but we cover a region larger than Connecticut, very rural. Our last census estimate, 212,000 people, and you can see the stats there for our linear miles, bridges. We have 2 airports and quite a few different railways. So as I talked about, we're designated by PennDOT and having an agreement to operate as the RPO for the 6 counties that are in our region: Cameron, Clearfield, Elk, Jefferson, McKean, and Potter. So I guess to give a frame of context, if any of you are familiar with Punxsutawney Phil, every year for Groundhog Day, that's in Jefferson County. So if you ever travel to the region for Groundhog Day, there's about, let's say, 50,000 people that come to the small little borough, and they pull the rodent out of the ground and you forecast the weather. So that's to give you context. Major thoroughfares are I-80 east to west and US 219 north to south. So just many of you are familiar with the US code that designates RPOs. So just I have that in there as a contextual background, but we refer to as required in our plans for public engagement, as well as the TIP and all our LRTP processes. So referring back to how it's for Pennsylvania, there's 7 designated local development districts, and as you can see there, we're number 3 on there. That's how it's designated out based on that requirement, with 50,000 population less for each county. So we operate under that with 7 other LDDs to carry out the transportation planning process as RPOs and MPOs. So core functions, many of you are familiar with this and follow the same planning process, but to establish regional setting for effective decision making, identifying projects, preparing our LRTP, TIP, and then I guess getting through with that. We have our performance measures, our safety, and our asset performance measures when it comes to bridges, roadway, as well as transit. We are not the designated transit agency at all. However, we do cooperate and work with them when it comes to funding. They put their funding through our TIP. So I guess getting on and how that is established as the committee. We meet typically on a quarterly basis, sometimes more, with our DOT partners, as well as transportation representatives and many other sectors, as well as local representatives and organizations. And this committee serves as the RPO planning committee, who votes on tips, projects, amendments, and if they want to introduce any projects as well, bring up issues. I'm fairly certain that's how many of you operate as role planning organizations. So moving on to public engagement, we follow the US DOT's 3 C's for the planning process for continuous, cooperative, and comprehensive planning, which I'll get into here. Just the high level of our public participation plan. Currently, we're going through an update, so we're looking. It's pretty timely to be doing this as we're going through our update, as well as updating several other plans along with our limited English proficiency in Title VI. So our general goals, I won't read through them or bore you, but I don't know if Krishna, Carrie, or if anybody else, I can share the rest of this presentation if anybody wants it for links to review, and it's right all on our website as well. So I guess kind of getting into how we use different organizations and programs as a conduit for public outreach. I know all 50 states have a local technical assistance program. We generally rely on that when it comes to interfacing and assisting the municipality. So it's a very good tool for conducting outreach as well as sharing. So if we get information, we'll get information from the contractor who runs the program from the state level. Typically we'll get that and send that out, whether it's typically in email fashion, whether it's funding updates, regulatory updates, programmatic or classes. And we also function as the local coordinator for that. So we can help give assistance to those municipalities if they have a specific project that they want to bring up that could potentially be funded through the TIP, depending on where the facility is, if it's a local facility, road, or state road. Also, as on the transit human service side of things, we utilize a revolving committee that helps develop our coordinated human service plan. So we regularly convene with that committee as well, send out updates through our email chain, and use that committee to pass along forms and generate any interest in when it comes to certain initiatives that we have, as well as provide feedback from the public. Now, kind of getting into more of the general process when it comes to project intake, we utilize PennDOT Connects. It's PennDOT's statewide program for process for individual highway and bridge projects that will either come through the LRTP or the TIP. And through that process, typically we'll coordinate with the local PennDOT district. We have 2 PennDOT districts in our region to gain feedback from the local municipalities, as well as coordinate between their local contact and our county planners for certain projects that will be in a municipality to gain feedback either from the local representatives at the municipalities, or if it's potentially impacting a local resident, if there's a land use issue. We typically run through that process. We have forms that are generated, and we send those out. If we don't hear anything back, we'll reach out via phone to the municipality to get that feedback as we bring projects in and through that process for the TIP and LRTP, as well as our other networks that we have with other groups in the community. And then we also utilize the State Transportation Commission. Every year they do their 2-year update for their 12-year plan. This year they had a online mapping form where individuals, anyone in the public, could go out and basically drop a pin on the map and provide any issues that they had. So we pushed that out, distributed that out as another opportunity for people to be engaged, put their issues down, and have them addressed, as well as our interested party listing that we keep regularly updated through our public participation plan. So when looking at our public participation plan, from a plan and program perspective, we're referencing the TIP and the LRTP. The things that we want to look at when we're doing this, and I think fairly standard, I don't think this is anything that anybody hasn't seen, but making sure that there's document availability. So we typically have 20 to 30 sites throughout the region that we physically print the plans and have them there for review, as well as providing a 30-day public comment period opportunity, as well as public meetings. We provide hybrid formats, but in special cases, if we need to have a public meeting in a specific area in the region, in particular to the TIP and RTP, in accompanying that, the rest of the listing here with press releases, making sure that we're having them out in a timely manner, as well as giving notice to the public. So it'd be 10 days in advance for a public comment period, 5 for an amendment notice if we're making that, and so forth. So our typical public meetings, we're looking at our public participation plan for engagement. We have our RPO meetings, which, as I said, are on a quarterly basis, sometimes more frequent. Those are open to the public. They're hybrid meetings. Anyone is welcome to attend if they bring forth reasonable discussion on transportation-related issues. And we, as put forth in our ADA and Title VI plan, if someone needs assistance to come to the meeting, they give us 5 days notice in advance. We can make accommodations within region to bring them to the meeting if need be, as well as special meetings for certain plans, special studies, and we typically record every meeting so that it's there for review. Just our glazing over our general outreach methods, which I'll go through. We utilize typical e-blast, social media, physical brochures, press release, and we have our website, which individuals I can show on here can go in and request. If they don't have our information, they can request contact information or a specific meeting or data, depending on what their needs are. For general e-blast, that was for our last tip update. Social media, currently utilizing LinkedIn, Facebook, and X. We're looking, as we do update our public participation plan, to strategize on if that's effective. We do look through and see, okay, how many clicks, how much engagement we're getting, and potentially looking to target maybe the younger age group. So we're strategizing, maybe looking to move towards Instagram, TikTok. I don't know if TikTok is feasible, but we've had discussions. I don't know if anybody else is in that, where they're trying to reach the other demographic, because typically we're reaching an older demographic when it comes to social media. So that's what we utilize currently. Then our visualization tools, in particular, when we're talking about TIP projects or LRTP projects or the plan, PennDOT regularly updates their maps that we also incorporate into our own visualizations, our own dashboards, GIS maps. Individuals can go out there on the PennDOT One Map site, or the Commonwealth just recently updated their website, and they have varying resources where they can go look at projects that might be a concern to them, as well as reach out. They can reach out. So I could just give a quick example, make sure I'm good on time here. So if they go through the Commonwealth website, they can look at projects, but as well, if they would like to comment, or they have a certain issue with a project, they can not only reach out to us, but there's forms here on PennDOT's website to request assistance. It could be from a municipality, but then they'll be put in the right contact, whether it's PennDOT's municipal services or reaching out to us for a certain issue. So they do have those means to reach out, as well as is calling. I need to look through because this was just updated for the recent context, but that is the general visualization tools that we utilize. And then our own website, which we constantly update, have our plans, projects, initiatives. We try to update regularly with certain, I guess, press releases, recent news, and provide all tools and resources that someone might need when it comes to transportation planning or land use. We have a website request form as well. If individuals on our website, we have all of our contact listing, but if someone would like to provide a specific request, they may as well. We do intake for that. Brochures, newsletters, and then I guess tying that back as we develop our new public participation plan to kind of gauge and measure how we're doing. We do keep track of performance measures. So anytime we do put out an ease blast, a news release, or a press release, a social media post, we track that in Tracker and make sure to go back. Okay, is this making an impact? Are people seeing this? How is this actually getting out to the community? As we continue our normal planning process. And I guess as a recent public engagement, we tried quite a few different new things when it came to the development of our regional safety action plan. It's actually out for public comment right now. If anyone was interested in reviewing it, our safety action plan actually covered all 6 counties. We worked with a consultant as well as our county planners and many constituents throughout the community, PennDOT, federal highways to develop this. But we actually had we utilized a web mapping tool where individuals could go out, bring it up here. And this is closed, but I still have access. They could go out and drop a pin anywhere they wanted on here to provide their issue. There was also a demographic survey that would come up. You could provide, what transportation means to you in the North Central region. Do you commute? Do you live in the region? Do you just travel through the region for recreation? And other demographic information. But we did get fairly good feedback. Individuals, you can see here, were able to comment, okay, what type of issue, whether it was a safety improvement, driving concern, bicycle concern, accessibility. And from there, we took that in through our plan development process to look at that and see if it aligned with the data that we had for crash data. Was there an actual issue there? Did that back that up? How can we move forward when it comes to implementation measures? So it was fairly successful. I want to say we had 200 to 300 responses, which for our region it's a fairly good number. Could be higher, I could be wrong, but that was just a recent tool that we utilized. As well as we did 2 rounds of public meetings. In our first one, we had 3 meeting spaces in each county, with the central location being run with the presenter, and then had 2 satellite locations that provided an area for people to come if they couldn't have it on their phone, because it was a hybrid setup. It was distributed, promoted. They could come and actually remotely view the main presenter at the main location and provide comments, feedback. So we had kind of some mixed reception of that. Some counties there was more people that showed up. It was just kind of dependent on the day and the weather, but overall it was a pretty good process for receiving feedback. So I guess getting into funding, typically where we direct and look for projects when it comes to a local side, we're working through our TIP and, our TIP process, and it's performance based. So we're looking to address bridges and roadways that, have poor pavement index ratings, or the bridge is rated poorly. So that's typically a a large focus, but we do also look at local projects, and we are also working directly with the municipalities, especially through the LTAP program, uh, for assistance if they have certain local roads that they can't cover with their budgets. Pennsylvania, most of their municipal budget is funded through the gas tax, and that only decreases every year because there's less people, there's more people driving EVs. Cars are becoming more fuel efficient. So a lot of these municipalities typically rely on discretionary funding, and the big ones that we go through the state are our multimodal fund that's run through the DCED. They provide a listing on here that anybody can use, and we typically work between the municipalities for project intake, between them and PennDOT Municipal Services, to help them get that information. If they need help answering any questions with their application, we can kind of get them on the right path, make sure they have cost estimates, letters of support, and that they have everything in line. So there's typically three to four main funds. There's actually six if you count, but these ones are typically very project specific. But they're very successful when it comes to kind of filling that gap. There's always an ongoing challenge there that projects might fall for the wayside for several years, but they're typically good programs to help fill that gap for municipalities when it comes to certain roadways or bridges or pedestrian improvements. As well as the DOT. I know that some issues, talking to people, that they had issues with the competitive grants dashboard. It hasn't been as up to date of recent, so I would double check if anyone's going out there to look, whether you're checking with the head program administrator in your state. But that is typically a good resource if unless you already know the program that you want to look into for federal discretionary funds, grant programs. With that, I'll leave it open for questions and comments.
Thank you, Connor. We're gonna have Anna present, and then we're gonna go for quick Q&A. Thank you.
Yeah, yeah. Sure.
Can everybody see the slides?
We see the slides in the PowerPoint editor view.
Okay, yeah. Alrighty. Anna?
Yes. Now it's in presentation mode.
Thank you.
All right. Hi, guys. Thank you all again for having me. My name is Anna. I work for Louisiana Cooperative Extension Services through the LSU Ag Center as a built environment and connectivity specialist. We have started focusing a lot on, you can forward the slide, trying to help rural communities with walkability, and improve just quality of life in rural Louisiana. So we are able to work through several different ways. We're a trusted institution. We deliver research-based outreach all across our state. We do cover 64 parishes within our state. We have ag offices in each parish. We have programmatic areas, 3 program areas within each parish where we cover ag and natural resources and 4-H, which is youth development. And then we also do a component of nutrition and community health. The agents are in each community. We are very present. We're very visible, really involved. And a lot of that has to do with the trust that the community has with us, which has been really critical for public engagement is what we have found. Our community members really look to us for information at times, especially when it comes to gardening or in a lot of our youth development. And most recently, we've been working with public officials on some transportation dynamics. You can do the next slide. So why transportation matters for us? That's kind of, I guess, where we struggled at first because we are not planners, we're not engineers. So this was a really unique situation for us to dabble in. But more than 40% of Louisiana's population is rural. These communities receive less than 20% of the transportation planning funds that are available. The rural areas, a lot of times they lack sidewalks, they lack safe crossings, they definitely lack public transit for obvious reasons. The Ag Center has worked to help bridge this gap through some facilitated community-led planning. We are able to support walkability and safety, and then ensuring the inclusive participation in transportation decisions throughout each parish. Um, we kind of started inserting ourselves in DOT in our state. We started, my counterpart, Jessica Stroop, she was able to kind of start attending a lot of these meetings, and she was really just spent a lot of time learning. And so in 2021, when the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act increased flexibility for states who were administering the TAP program, we were there advocating for the changes to allow a 5% match for towns under 5,000. And I think that this really changed the dynamics in these rural communities, is that they felt like they could be in the game. Most of these communities are functioning with one full-time town employee. They don't often have the funding that is available or that's necessary to do some of these larger scale projects. So they just say, we can't do it, and they wash their hands of it, and then they move on. A lot of times these smaller towns have more important things, I would say, to concern themselves with when it comes to how they're going to spend their money, is what we've learned. And so by changing this 5% match for these towns, I think it really just opened up the door for them to be able to participate in these types of programs. You can go ahead and forward the slide. So when we came in and we decided that we were going to start doing this, the first thing that we started doing was these walk audits. Walk audits are a low-cost, high-impact tool for assessing pedestrian safety. And I think that that was kind of where we found our role, was looking at it in mostly pedestrian aspects. And so not necessarily the full transportation aspect, but looking at pedestrian and biking safety, which is still transportation. But so we were able to host these walk audits by just providing a printed map. You can kind of see what we do. We are not, like I said, we are not planners. We are not engineers. We were on Google Maps, kind of DIYing as we could. Had some clipboards, pens. We used some safety vests, and we usually had police escorts to help these groups of people get around the community. You can see that walk audit tool map. I know it's really hard to read, but we were able to have the citizens give us direct feedback while walking that identified route. These walk audits have led to really big changes. We've had new crosswalks. We've had areas that it needed signage. We've had sidewalk repairs. We've brought lighting in where it was needed. And so just by doing this, it sparked a lot of interest. We now host a Rural Complete Street Summit every other year, where we invite communities to come in to learn how to apply for this funding and kind of what they need to do. And what came out of that was that 11 rural communities received $13 million to support the infrastructure within their community through TAP funding. You can forward the slide. So one of the things that, just some strategies, because that's what a lot of this is about, is that the strategies that we've used in rural communities to help get engagement is that, in a recent project that we had in particularly small community. The high school students were actually who participated in the walk audit because it was near a high school. We knew that there was problems. You knew that there was problems just being from this area and driving through town. You would see kids just darting across the street. We're talking a 4-lane, really busy highway. And so we were trying to figure out what were they doing? Why were they not going to a red light? Why were, um, during that walk audit, they told us exactly why, that they weren't, the road was too wide by the high school, took too long to cross. Um, but then the sidewalk was really bad at the narrowest point near the red light. And so they were explaining why they were crossing where they were, and they had a rational reason and for that. So it actually helped move the town council and DOTD to actually prioritize that pedestrian safety right there. We were able to get the results of that ended up being a new sidewalk structure, speed limit reductions near schools, or it was near the school, but it probably needed to be extended further. And I think right there was just a pivotal point with knowing how that youth engagement can be really powerful. We had representatives from our MPO and DOTD there during this walk audit, and to listen to the kids explain to these engineers how to how to meet the needs for safety, and we always looked at it as just safety. I didn't know what the best solution was, but we were able to bring on these partners to help tell us what we could do while also understanding the problem as a whole. So I think it was kind of a pretty powerful moment to see the inner workings of how we were able to connect the MPO with DOTD and along with these kids from a local high school. You can go ahead and forward the slide. So I think that this is our bread and butter at LSU Ag Center, is public engagement. We are always, we serve the public. That's how we have always seen ourselves. We use so many strategies to engage the public, whether it's showing up at a festival. We've collected data at Relay for Life. We've been at sporting events, but we're already there doing our own events. We've got some pictures here where we team up with Wildlife and Fisheries, and we do family fish days, where we have them come out and they're educating youth and even parents at times on a lot of fishing techniques, tying knots, identifying fish, understanding the differences in fish who have scales versus skin. And it's really neat just to kind of see the engagement for kids there. Picture next to that, we've done family fitness days where we walk around town. We do this by partnering with local PD and for safety. And it's kind of looking at these family fitness days as trying to promote the walkability in towns that don't otherwise have a safe way to walk. It also helps create a little bit of advocacy in that area for the community in hopes that they may see the need for this to improve some sidewalk structure within their town. We've been able to engage people during the 4-H host our pet show right down there. You see this little guy holding his dog. And so we do pet shows. We've done, a variety of cooking contests and things like that. And those are times where we're able to interact with kids, with parents, and find out what's going on and how we can best serve them in the area. And then right down there on the left is one of our field days. As our farming field days. And so we're just kind of we're building that trust within the community. And so they're able to look to us for guidance at times, and they know that we're going to be there to advocate for them. A lot of the partnerships that we have, we're very vested in our councils on aging, advocating for nutrition programs with them, as well as some connectivity pieces that we realize that transportation is not always simple for the aging population. And so we looked at the safety aspect of that. And aside from, I guess, on the transportation side, we're looking at things like parks that have available spaces for wellness, for walking. Are the tracks even safe to walk on for anybody with mobility issues? And so we're able to really connect in those ways with the public. You can forward slide. So as far as event participation, it's just we're able to garner a lot of support at meetings. And so when we're doing public engagement, we tend to have a variety of people that are able to show. So for instance, in one community where we were working on some community safety action plans. So we've always found that public meetings over virtual meetings. There's something about bringing people together in person where you just seem to get honest conversation and feedback. And not to knock a virtual meeting by all means, but people tend to be more vocal in person. They're going to speak up. They feel that you can have these interactive conversations. You're going to meet new people that you otherwise would not have met. During one of these meetings, I mean, we just had a variety of people that were there between concerned parents. We had fire and police. They were absolutely phenomenal to have involved when we were looking at this action plan because in these small towns, who's first to the scene for these vehicular accidents or basically any accident, our fire department, they tend to be first along with PD. They know where the majority of the accidents are. They tend to know why they're occurring, especially when they seem to be reoccurring in certain areas. We've had our public works, streets and sanitation also there. They know where some drainage issues are. And DOT, our DOT, we love to see DOT coming. They have been just pivotal in helping us understand this process and been very open and appreciative, I think, of our work and being able to garner public interest and to get public opinion on a lot of things. So that like what I just said, that does bring some valued input from a variety of sources. So we have on the technical side, all the way to just the everyday average citizen. We're able to be that collective voice to address a lot of these issues too. All right, you can go ahead and forward our slide. So this was actually an image from that meeting that I was just talking about. This is a planning meeting. And I think that where we thrive once again is that benefit. It's a benefit to partnering with us. Most the towns are not having to come out of pocket necessarily to have us there, but we're able to utilize the partnerships that we already have and leverage them to come in to help towns. We try to be very cost effective and community driven. We have leveraged funds from SNAP and CDC through some of our agents to assist with some of this, if it is demonstration projects or just even walk audits if finances were needed. We were able to leverage funds to be able to provide that to towns. We've had great partnerships with DOTD. One of our regional rep, he has shown up to every walk audit that we have hosted in his area. And he has known where he could add in additional funds. So if we were working within a grant, particularly safe routes to public places, he was able to continue a project with some funding that he had on a regional level. This project was able to extend to a much needed neighborhood that we wanted to be able to go that far, but we had maxed out on dollar amount at that time. And he was able to recognize how beneficial it would be to continue this project and to continue to leverage his funds in order to support some ongoing grant activity. Our regional planning commissions, working with them, they have taught me so much, and I've been able to in turn communicate a lot of that to these rural communities. And I know that our regional planning commissions, they do struggle to come out of that larger municipality, because funding is really focused within the larger metropolitan areas. And so as I cover the northern part of the state, we have 4 metro areas in the northern part of the state, and they really can only stay right there. But there's so much more to our state that needs these resources. So we're able to work with them a lot, and they've been able to help out with mapping. A few of them are actually here in this meeting in this image, to assist with the planning and to come on with the technical knowledge that they have that I know, I don't need to have. Our partnership has helped me to rely on them for the technical knowledge that they already possess. All right. And so I know that there's another success stories with other states that they've implemented a lot of other very similar things to what we've done in Ohio. I know that they were able to partner with their planning commission to build their rural planning capacity by integrating local voice into regional transportation plans. They were able to get a more equitable distribution of planning resources for their state. Pennsylvania, hearing about everything that they've been able to do as well. And then we're right there with, as the Ag Center, by collaborating with those 13 rural communities to successfully secure transportation alternatives funding for each of those towns, to increase sidewalks, crosswalks, and other safety improvements around those areas. And so I think that this just alone demonstrates how community engagement really leads to this funding success. All right, next slide. And so here's just some images to kind of close out. This is one of our meetings where we were about to participate in a walk audit. So all of my high schoolers, they are absolutely phenomenal having high schoolers do some of these activities. I really think it gives them a sense of some civic responsibility. They really start to understand the dynamics of the larger world around them when we're having them participate in this type of stuff. And so this community first approach, we really we believe in our community. We are supported by our community. And we really appreciate the ability to collaborate and for our MPOs and our development districts to be very patient with us as I ask questions that I probably should know, but this isn't my field. I'm good at the community engagement side of it. And so they're able to be very patient with us. And they appreciate the collaboration as well, because they do continue to call us. So at least we know that. All right, and if anybody has any questions, I guess we're about to do a Q&A.
Thank you, Anna.
Thank
So I know we all have tons of questions, and Carrie's gonna break us out into separate breakout rooms so that we can have our little own time to ask our own questions and come back as a bigger group and just to report or anything different that you have seen or maybe have been successful. That's what we're gonna do now. So Carrie, we are ready for breakout rooms.
Let's pause here for just a moment and see if folks have questions for Connor or Anna that we haven't seen in the chat. I know there was at least one for Connor that got answered in the chat already.
Yeah.
You also are welcome to unmute and ask your question aloud if you'd like to.
Thank you, Carrie. I unmuted myself. I couldn't find a hand to put up. Connor, my question is for you. You shared a slide showing the outreach strategies for plans and programs, and I really liked how you laid that out. The last bullet point was visualization techniques, and I'd like to know more about the types of visualization techniques you all use.
Yeah, Susan. So typically, referring to those plans and processes when it comes to, our tip and then how that relates to the statewide tip once that gets approved and incorporated in. The visualization techniques that are on there are really okay. What projects have been listed on the tip? And then so how can they be visualized, once they're listed and programmed? And that's kind of where that's pointing to. I guess more generally speaking, so that we have those resources out there on the state's GIS maps where people can go, they can interact with that information, sift through different layers. You can generate your own maps. I mean, people request for us if we can generate, we'll do that once in a while, but typically it's a free and open source tool to use, so people can go out and say, for instance, maybe there's a utility, because we have several coordinating committees, a utility that wants to do a big capital project. They want to replace all the water lines on a certain thoroughfare that's very busy, and it's a state route. They can go on there and see, okay, this project is planned for preliminary engineering this year, and then programmed for construction in a certain year. So they can look at the let date and the notice to proceed date. That information is all regularly updated on those applications. So that's generally what we point towards people to for that. If it's more specifically plan oriented, like a regional plan, like the safety action plan, we'll kind of develop our own or help have a consultant develop it with us, and so people can go in and look at things more specific to that sort of thing. But generally speaking, that's what's utilized is that DOT one map, or their other accompanying GIS applications. I don't know, did that answer it?
Yes, and I really appreciate that. And I know it's coming up as Susan. I'm actually Sonia. But I really appreciate your comment about the GIS map. I don't think, at least the districts that I work with at TxDOT, I don't think we've used the GIS map technique. And I find that it would be very beneficial. So I've already set up a meeting tomorrow with my people that are working on rolling out the PI for the RTIP process that'll start up soon. And we'll definitely be making that recommendation because that's exactly because at first I was like, I know everything. Obviously I don't. So thank you.
Well, great. Yeah, no, thank you. Yeah, and if you need, I can put, if you need anybody to, like, from our DOT that actively manages that, I could put you in contact with them, or who you're referencing to that. So if you need to reach out, yeah, feel free, and I can put them in contact.
Thank you, Connor.
Yep.
And Ryan, would you go ahead and put the breakout room discussion questions in the chat? And as Ryan does that, I'll just make a quick observation. I noticed both in Connor's presentation and in Anna's and in some of the chat as well, the collaboration between agencies seems like a really important ingredient for success. Connor, you referenced PennDOT several times as really working hand in hand with the RPO. And Anna, with you being with Extension, a statewide entity, DOTD also a statewide entity, and partnering with those RPCs and MPOs, that partnering across, I guess, levels of geography, from the state level to the regional level, seems like a really important aspect.
Yeah, it's crucial. It's definitely.
So we are going to open the breakout rooms here in a moment. And there are 3 questions here in the chat. As you get into your breakout room, please introduce yourself to the people who are in your breakout room with you, and then talk through any specific presentation questions that you might have from what we've heard so far today, but also an engagement tactic that you have used in the past that surprised you with its impact, a new engagement practice that you'd like to implement, and things that have been the most successful in your experience to date. So I'm going to hit open all rooms. If you are assigned to room 5, it'll take me a minute to get in there, but I'll be in there with you shortly.
Thank you.
As a pop-up comes up prompting you to join your room, go ahead and click join. We're going to move into breakout rooms to have a little more discussion. Go ahead and hit join when that button comes up. Are you stuck, Gina? Is it not putting you in the room?
I was like in mine and then it like sent me back here.
Okay, let me move you. I will put you in a room now. If I can. Ah, here we go. There's the participant list. Anybody else having a hard time joining a room?
I think I got kicked out of room 2.
Okay. Let me try to put you back in there. Oh, room 2 just disappeared from my list. Okay, let's try putting you in 4 and see if that works better.
All right.
Is anybody else having trouble joining a room? Are you guys okay? I'm going to head into room 5. I think if you all chat at me, you can still get me if you need to. Right, we'll give it a few more seconds while people are joining back in the main room.
Hi, everybody. I'm so excited. We had a good conversation in our breakout room, but I'll let you guys, anybody else would like to start the conversation or just to share some highlights? We have 5 minutes left.
We talked a lot about youth engagement in our room. The importance of including youth, making sure that we understand their perspectives, where they're coming from, and what their struggles are, particularly in regions where the younger adults may be being priced out of continuing to live in the region. What were some of the highlights for others of you?
Hey, Carrie, it's Brett. So over in our breakout room, we had a good time. We were laughing, but one of the main points was we talked a lot about social media, and we were talking about even though it's been out for quite a while now, and we've all been exposed to it, and all of our organizations have it, like we're still trying to figure out how to do it well, how to make it work the best, how to make it connect with folks, how to approach it with like some level of humor that makes it engaging and makes folks something folks want to work with. So anyway, we spent a lot of time talking about that, but I thought that was a great point that like we're still working on it with social media.
Harry Ryan over here. In our breakout room, we talked a lot about meeting people where they are. And so that included like at different community events and ones that you might not think of going to as well, because if the community is there, doesn't matter if the event is like government focused. If you're able to get a table and engage with the community, go for it. But I thought a very interesting part of the discussion about meeting people where they are was also meeting them at the times that they are. And so talking to your local expert who actually lives in that community and asking them what is the best time to meet, not just scheduling at lunch, not just scheduling at the end of day. Because Courtney from Alaska brought up that their local expert told them to schedule the meeting at 11 a.m. And it's like, oh, why? And he's like, that is when everybody will be able to come. And they had a lot of engagement. And like it was, in fact, the biggest engagement that they had seen for an event that they also brought all of their subject matter experts to. And so everybody had something to say.
Alrighty, I'll go. So in our group, we talked about doing some different shows like sustainability groups like EV card shows or Earth Days. So I think that has been a little successful. And obviously, we all talked about offering compensation, but we didn't know how to, fit into the need. But maybe even doing a swag at the booths or a candy, or offering some stickers. And there was a great idea. Somebody taped the QR code along with the sheet of paper to the candy to give it away to the kids. So that they take it back to the parents, which I thought was a cool idea. Um, and then like even doing YouTube videos explaining what a long range transportation plan is, because we ask people to come to these meetings, but then they don't understand the big picture of what it means to the region, what it means at the state level, how these projects fund through the state level. So that has been one of those things that I've noticed in my prior life too. So I thought that's a great thing to do. I do know we have 2 more minutes left, and I would like to, Carrie, would you like to share the big news?
No, you go ahead.
Okay. So, yay. So we're gonna have our regional transportation conference next year. We are for sure know that it's gonna be the week of July 19th at this Hotel Grand Hyatt Atlanta in Buckhead. So please lock the dates, and we are so excited to have you there. And if you haven't looked at our website, the presentations from our conference just recently had in Des Moines are there, and they have cool presentations. We'll make sure to have this presentation, the YouTube video, posted in the next couple of days. But thank you so much for taking the time to join this wonderful conversation. And I hope you all have a good day. Thank you.
Thank you. Take care.
Bye, y'all.